In a stunning revelation that's sending shockwaves through Hollywood, legendary director Steven Spielberg has allegedly issued a behind-the-scenes warning to Disney about Rachel Zegler's behavior, urging them to tread carefully before handing her the keys to a billion-dollar legacy like Snow White. And if the rumors are true, he wasn't just offering a friendly heads up, he was trying to save them from walking into a disaster. Spielberg doesn't speak lightly. This is a man who helped shape the very foundation of modern cinema. So when he reportedly told Disney that Zegler's attitude on West Side Story raised red flags, it wasn't some petty gripe. It was a professional red alert. According to insiders, Spielberg allegedly warned that her behavior could torpedo the entire project.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarves. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group, you just erase that whole
new Disney boss babe who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of.
And now, looking at the aftermath of Snow White, it's hard not to wonder if he was right all along. Zegler skyrocketed to fame as Maria in Spielberg's remake of West Side Story, a role that positioned her as Hollywood's next leading lady. But almost as quickly as she rose, cracks started to show. While her on-screen performance earned praise, off-screen reports painted a very different picture. On-set tension, a diva-like reputation, and a streak of entitlement that allegedly rubbed even Spielberg the wrong way. It wasn't long before she became the face of Disney's Snow White reboot, a controversial move that ignited a firestorm online.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
Controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings.
Yeah,
They won't even
7
say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves.
No, because they're not dwarves. For right now, that's the only jobs that are there.
And you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie, and I believe it only made less than $1 million.
The backlash was immediate and brutal, fueled by her tone-deaf interviews, dismissive takes on the original film, and a growing perception that she was ungrateful for the very roles that launched her. Critics said she was disrespectful. Fans said she was out of touch. Executives started panicking, and through it all, whispers swirled that Spielberg had tried to warn them. They just didn't listen. From celebrated newcomer to public relations nightmare, Zegler's story has become a
oh my god.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely f***ing atrocious.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphor?
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Modern Hollywood tragedy. And now, with Snow White tanking at the box office and Rachel's brand in freefall, all eyes are turning back to Spielberg's alleged warning. Was this the moment the downfall began? Did one of the most powerful directors in the world see what others refuse to admit? This isn't just a case of a young star stumbling under pressure.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Hardcore. They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore. Last week was a very big week, objectively a huge week. We had quite a few announcements. As first live-action film, which is Snow White and the Evil Queen. And that's me, I'm Snow White, which is so funny.
I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
It's a lesson in ego, accountability, and what happens when the machine of fame lifts someone up too fast and doesn't ask whether they're ready for the spotlight. Rachel Zegler's fall from grace is no longer speculation. It's unfolding. in real time. And at the center of it all is one unanswered question. What exactly did Steven Spielberg see behind the scenes? And why did Disney ignore him? But that's just the beginning. Because once we dive into Spielberg's alleged frustrations, the chaos on the West Side Story set, and how it all spiraled into one of Disney's biggest live-action disasters, you'll see exactly how this fairy tale became a PR horror story. Behind the polished red carpet appearances and glowing headlines following West Side Story's release, a very different narrative was allegedly unfolding on set. And Steven Spielberg, the man who handpicked Rachel Zegler for the lead role, was reportedly the first to see it unravel. According to multiple sources close to the production, Spielberg began to notice patterns in Zegler's behavior that gave him pause. At first it was subtle, dismissive comments, tension with crew, members, minor disagreements that escalated too quickly. But over time, the concerns reportedly escalated into full-blown frustration. Insiders claim that Spielberg, who is famously known for running tight but respectful sets, found Zegler's attitude difficult to manage. While she nailed the audition and dazzled in front of the camera, it was what happened between takes that allegedly soured their working relationship. The tipping point, sources say, was when Spielberg privately confided to his inner circle that Zegler was not ready for the kind of superstardom Hollywood was pushing her toward. He allegedly described her as talented but volatile, and warned that if her behavior wasn't reined in, it could become a liability on future productions. And here's where things get explosive. According to a well-placed studio insider, Spielberg didn't keep these concerns to himself. He allegedly reached out to Disney through informal channels, whispers at industry dinners, backdoor calls to casting decision-makers, and urged them to think twice before placing Zegler at the center of a massive IP like Snow White. This wasn't petty jealousy. It wasn't some backhanded critique. It was Spielberg doing what any seasoned director would do when they see a storm coming. He warned them. But the warning fell on deaf ears. Whether it was because Disney had already invested too much into the Zegler brand, or they simply didn't want to admit a misstep, they moved forward anyway. And now, with Snow White buried under controversy and backlash, Spielberg's alleged cautionary words are echoing louder than ever. In an industry where silence is often golden, Spielberg's decision to speak, if only in whispers, might just be the most powerful statement of all. When Rachel Zegler landed the coveted role of Maria in West Side Story, it was billed as the ultimate Cinderella story, a teenage newcomer with a voice that could rival Broadway veterans, chosen by Steven Spielberg himself to lead a $100 million Oscar bait musical remake. But behind the glossy PR campaign, people on set reportedly witnessed something far less magical. Sources from within the production allege that Zegler's behavior became increasingly difficult as filming progressed. At first, it was chalked up to nerves. After all, she was a newcomer thrown into a high-pressure environment. But soon, patterns emerged. Reports circulated that Zegler routinely challenged direction, questioned script changes, and clashed, with department heads over everything from lighting choices to wardrobe fittings. One crew member allegedly described her as entitled and said she carried herself like a star long before she'd earned that status. It wasn't just crew members noticing. Some castmates were said to have kept their distance, opting to avoid unnecessary conflict. And while none of her co-stars have publicly criticized her, insiders claim that the atmosphere on set was tense whenever she was present. According to one assistant director who later spoke anonymously, there were days where Zegler's mood swings dictated the tone of the entire shoot, but perhaps most damning were whispers that even Spielberg, who had once fiercely defended Zegler's casting despite initial studio pushback, began to feel regret. He reportedly had to mediate multiple behind-the-scenes conflicts involving Zegler and remind her, more than once, that being talented didn't give her license to disrespect her collaborators. While he never made these concerns public, his demeanor allegedly shifted by the end of production. What began as mentorship slowly turned into management. All of this baggage didn't just stay on the West Side Story set. It allegedly followed Zegler into meetings, auditions, and high-level conversations about future projects. So, when Disney came calling with Snow White, the question wasn't, can she handle it? It was, should we even risk it? And while Disney gambled, believing they had the next big star on their hands, it's now clear that the warning signs were there all along. Spielberg reportedly saw them, others felt them, but the machine kept moving. And that decision may have cost Disney dearly. Zegler's tenure as Snow White has been nothing short of a PR disaster. What should have been a career-defining moment, stepping into one of Disney's most iconic roles, quickly devolved into a public relations minefield. It all began with her eyebrow-raising interviews where she described the 1937 animated, original as weird, creepy, and not a love story anyone needs. Instead of celebrating the legacy she was inheriting, she dismissed it entirely, calling the original outdated and problematic. The reaction was swift and brutal. Fans who grew up cherishing the classic felt insulted, film historians blasted her for showing what they called staggering disrespect toward one of the most beloved films in animation history. And even casual moviegoers began questioning why Disney would hand such a legendary role to someone who seemed to resent it. What made it worse? Zegler doubled down. In multiple press appearances, she repeated variations of the same message, making it clear that her version of Snow White would be a drastic departure. And while reimagining a classic isn't inherently a problem, doing so while antagonizing the original fanbase turned a potential box office win into a full-blown controversy. By the time the film hit theaters, the damage was done. Headlines focused more on Zegler's interviews than the film itself. The box office numbers were disastrous, barely scratching past $190 million worldwide on a budget that reportedly ballooned well past $240 million. It was one of Disney's most embarrassing live-action flops in recent memory. And while there were certainly other factors at play, many critics, fans, and even insiders pointed fingers squarely at Zegler. Her tone-deaf commentary had alienated audiences before a single ticket was sold. For some, it was a clear example of what happens when studios ignore optics and audience loyalty in favor of forced modern messaging. For others, it proved what Spielberg allegedly tried to warn them about all along, that casting Zegler was a risk they couldn't afford to take. And now, with Snow White's failure staining both her reputation and Disney's live-action track record, it's hard not to ask, was this all preventable? The entertainment industry has taken note of the unfolding drama. While some defend Zegler's right to express her opinions, others argue that her actions have been detrimental to her projects and colleagues. The situation has reportedly led to strained relationships with industry professionals and may have influenced casting decisions for future roles. Comparisons have been drawn to other actors whose careers suffered due to public controversies, highlighting the precarious nature of fame in the digital age. In response to the criticism, Zegler has issued statements attempting to clarify her intentions and express appreciation for the opportunities she's received. Despite the turmoil, she continues to secure roles, including an upcoming project alongside Marisa Tomei. The success of these ventures may determine whether she can rehabilitate her public image and regain her footing in Hollywood. However, the lingering effects of the Snow White controversy suggest that the road ahead may be challenging. The alleged warning from Steven Spielberg serves as a stark reminder of the importance of professionalism and public perception in the entertainment industry. Rachel Zegler's trajectory from celebrated newcomer to controversial figure underscores the delicate balance actors must maintain between personal expression and professional responsibilities. As Disney and other studios navigate the fallout, the situation prompts broader discussions about casting, representation, and the evolving expectations placed upon public figures. Only time will tell if Zegler can overcome these hurdles and redefine her narrative in the ever-watchful eye of